What's up? Doug Cunnington here. This is Friday's Q&A session. We're going to talk about Amazon affiliate sites. We will talk about passive income, digital nomad stuff, and niche and authority sites. And I think that's all I mentioned in here. So we are rolling now. We're live. We see we got a few people on here. Welcome, welcome. We have Adrian. We have Brian on and Paul as well. So thanks, folks, for hopping on today and joining me. If you have questions, that's what today is all about here. And I'm going to pop out the chat so I can see what's going on. And I do see that Paul mentions that you found number 2 and 3 of my free course this week ended up in your spam folder. You know what? I've heard that from just a couple people, and I've heard about that in the past. Kind of crazy. I mean, thanks for letting me know, Paul. I don't know what the hell to do with that stuff. We've got Jeff on too. Welcome. What's up? It looks like we may have a little bit of a smaller crowd today, but if you have questions, let me know. I know it was like a minute late today. I was doing a coaching call with one of my students, so that was good to do. I'm going to share out. And by the way, if anyone has the opportunity to share this in like, well, I guess only with people that may actually be interested, right? I don't want you to like spam it to your Facebook friends, like your family or whatever, and they don't care about what I'm talking about. So don't do that. But if you know someone that would actually care about what I'm talking about today, or if they just want to ask a smart guy hard questions, or me, that would be great. So I'm just going to share this in a Facebook group. And if you're watching this later, you can ask questions in the comments, by the way. Thanks for watching it. I know a lot of people, they like if they're in another time zone, like either they're at work or it's nighttime, it's like Friday evening or something, and they don't want to like waste their time listening to me when they should be hanging out with their family and stuff. So I could appreciate that. All right. Join me live. That's what I'm going to say for the Facebook group. Boom. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can go ahead and like put the pound Q or whatever, and that's a nice way for me to see that. But since it's a tight group today, I should be able to get to it. And Paul mentions that as far as like the spam stuff, the junk folder, and the emails that I'm sending out, you said we've had issues with the numbers and rate of mailings. Interesting. Okay. And I don't know what to do about that. Jeff asked, oh, and I see Leo's on. What's up, Leo? Good to have you on. Shoot me an email, man. I haven't heard what's going on with you lately. I kept thinking I should reach out to you, but now that you're here right now, I can just ask you. It doesn't have to be a long update or anything. Just curious, how things are going. I know you moved and all that. Jeff asks, our first question of the day: how long from comment to article does your guest posting method generally take? Well, as all good questions, the answer is it depends. It can be as quick as like 5 days. The way that sort of thing can happen, and the way that it's happened for me before, is if you email someone like when they're about to go on vacation and they need to post something, and then you just bailed them out because they need content. And you're like, oh, I could send it to you right away. And at that point, like you need to have like a writer like ready for you, or you write it yourself. Of course, if you're writing like, you write like a 500 to like 1,500 word article or so. I mean, you could do that in a few hours. Even a slow writer like myself can do that in a few hours. So the point is, it can happen very fast. A reasonable average, I would say, is like 2.5 to 4.5 weeks. So it's not fast. It's about building that relationship with the person. So they'll actually accept your guest post and they'll actually leave your link in. So that is an important factor to have there to consider. John is on What's Up, and I see we're getting some more people on, so that's cool. So Jeff is then saying, if you already had a guest post with a site, how would you approach asking them to accept another, which links to another site? To another, and then it says unlimited once you start a relationship. So I would just, I mean, depending on how close your relationship is, right? So option one, if you are, friendly with a person, you can just email them and say, "Hey, I have another site, and it's kind of related to this other topic, and here's the idea that I have. What do you think about guest posting?" Then, they say yes or no, or maybe it makes them feel weird or something. I would advise you to like do some cool stuff for them in between that second ask. So maybe you share their stuff a few times, like multiple times on Twitter, on Facebook, send it out to your email list, share it with your like family and friends, like manually send like if you don't have an email list, send it out to like 5 people that and ask them to like go to the site. Hey, it's really cool. My friend Jeff recommended I check it out, and wow, this is, life changing or whatever. They're going to remember you. The point is, don't keep coming with your hand out. Like, you got to do some stuff for other people or they're not going to do anything for you. All right. Thanks, Leo. Yeah, looking forward to the email. Before I go on too much, I'm going to let some questions queue up here, which they I'm going to regret that in a second. Couple things that I want to talk about. Sorry, I wasn't here on Wednesday. I was at a conference. I went to my first conference this week. It was a converted conference put on by Lead Pages and Drip. And it was cool. Like I said, it was my first marketing conference. I was definitely nervous. I shot some video and you can see just how nervous I was like before walking down. Since I do, generally work by myself often, I have to um I have to put in some effort, right? It's like everyone, right? Like most people, if you're like, go network, like go meet people and you don't know anyone here, like most people have like some hesitation or whatever. And I did too, but of course I like flew somewhere, didn't know anyone, stayed at a different hotel because the hotel was sold out and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to probably maybe I'll do it later today since I'm hopped up on caffeine currently. But yeah, it was super cool. I'll just hit some highlights. So one of the main reasons I went is I wanted to meet Pat Flynn. I failed at that. Turned out that Pat's meetup was on Thursday, and he didn't sort of schedule it until after I already booked my flights, and like a lot of stuff was kind of like in motion already. I'm launching my course next week, so I don't have a huge amount of flexibility in my schedule to like shuffle things around or whatever. So unfortunately, I didn't meet Pat, but his talk was awesome, and I learned some things about just speaking by observing these. I think it was like 15 or 16 people speaking, and like who was enjoyable, who was engaging, like who like clearly put in more time than others. I met probably, one of the main reasons I went to this conference is to just network and meet people. I hear often, like, if you can just, go to one or two conferences, like put the effort in to meet people that, you can work with in the future, like it could change the trajectory of your career. And I think I met some pretty cool people. I definitely, met a couple of people who you will see on the channel later. Funny thing, some people may know Adam White, and he does SEO Jet. It's a tool. I think he's actually in the Phoenix area, if I remember right, but just randomly, I sat at a table where I didn't know anyone. He walked up, sat across the table. I figured out that like I've heard of him before and his tool because some of my students use it. So we connected. It looks like a good match, right? I met another guy who has a similar corporate background as me. He worked at Microsoft for like 10 plus years, I think, and he got a little burned out. Ravi Raman is his name, and yeah, cool guy. Turns out he had some sort of similar midlife crisis as myself and my wife, and he and his wife, and they did some road tripping. They traveled around, moved from the Seattle area to the Rocky Mountains down in Colorado. So we had a lot in common, which we didn't even realize that point. We were just talking like marketing stuff, and then realized we had like a good match. So he'll probably be on here at some point too. A few other people, but I'll go ahead and get to some questions right now. But yeah, overall conference was very awesome. Highly likely I'm going to go back. Oh, and then one other thing I'll mention is I don't use lead pages or drip, right? So that's like the company that put this on, and I felt a little funny about it. I felt like embarrassed, right? I'm not even using the products, and I wasn't like bragging about it or anything. Just felt silly. Turns out they definitely want to talk to me. I'm like the prime person. Like I have an email list, I have a few email lists, and I'm not using their products. Like I'm the person they could sell to. So once actually the big catalyst was somehow I ended up talking to the CEO, like the new CEO, which is not Clay Collins anymore. It's a new guy who came up through the organization, but I was talking with him, like I said, at the cocktail party. I somehow ended up talking with him for like 20 minutes or so. And he was like, I'm like, we're going to get you over. Like, I'm going to have people talk to you. So that, like, they scoped me out and found me later. So, okay. I'm going to answer the questions now. All right. Brian asks, can I talk about evaluating the competition for a given niche? Sure. It's a tough question. It's covered. I go deep in the course. I don't actually have a free video on competition analysis, Brian, but in general, I typically look at like the breadth. I'm going to give you a sort of a high level view. I look at like the breadth of the niche, right? So if it's something like outdoor products or whatever, it's huge. There's 20, 30 like sub niche sites that could be, multiple six-figure sites easy, just in like sort of silos of product areas. There are many, if you think about like a Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops, REI, a local store here in Montana is Sportsman's Warehouse. There are so many products in there that if you just walk through and like write down like the things that interest you as you walk through, like there's multiple sites. So if you think about it that way, there's going to be a lot of competition, but there's so many different products that you can cover, so many like categories of products and subcategories and subcategories that you can cover, that it will be fine. You will be able to find keywords. Now, when it comes down to a micro level, when you're looking at individual keywords and who you have to compete against, at that point, I look at on page and off page, and we'll branch out from there. So on page, I would look at like the length of the content, how well it's written, sort of the characteristics of how they cover the material to get an understanding of what's going on there. Thing is, if you find a particular keyword, and then you see like the four like niche sites in the top 10 are 10,000 to 14,000 words long, that indicates it's going to take a little bit longer to rank for, and that you're probably going to have to, just to play ball, you're going to have a similar amount of content. And that's a lot of content. It's a bit overwhelming at first. And I have some posts that are quite long they didn't start that long. They started off like 1,500 words, and they grow over time as they need to. So that is the on-page section. The off-page section is backlinks. Just straight up, it's backlinks. So, use Ahrefs. I recently like upgraded to like the big paid plan to get some data from Ahrefs, and it's very good. Like, I know some people have asked me about it in the recent past, and I should go ahead and do a work, sorry, a teardown and use the tools in there. But at that point, Brian, it's just backlinks. You go take a look at the backlinks, how strong they are. If you see a site that has, tons of backlinks from a lot of different sites with like, either intentional guest posting and white hat outreach, or if they're just attracting natural backlinks, like that indicates it's more competitive. Drifter, what's going on? Okay, Sarah says, what's my number one tip for someone who wants to get from 100 a month to 5,000 a month? Okay, it's focus. It is all focus. I was talking to someone just a bit ago, just before I went live here, and it's all focus, right? So you need to, either pick like content and focus on publishing a lot of content, or you need to pick outreach as what you want to focus on. Sarah, for you, as a student of Five Figure Niche Site, I know you and I know you do really well at outreach, and that means it's probably, maybe you do another little sprint of content, or like add more content to the posts that you already have on your site, and then focus on outreach. So, a lot of times I do a blend. I do a lot of content. I also do link building. So I have some keyword golden ratio content, but I also have a lot of backlinks to a handful of posts that actually need those links. And the number one thing is focus. So, what you shouldn't do is think, oh, you know what? I need to branch out into Facebook marketing. Can it work? Yeah. You can do it in Pinterest, Facebook, Reddit. There's like a million ways to do things, but you need to pick one and just really focus on that one. Going to the conference, going to Converted, I can, I see the people on stage. Those are people that like maybe they wandered around and they didn't know what to focus on for a little while, but then they focused in hard on a specific thing, and then they worked on it and refined it for multiple years. So I felt, as I was listening to some of the folks talk, I felt really like behind and inferior. But after I, took a step back, I was like, oh, those guys and gals, they're like, 3 to 5 or 7 years ahead of me. And that's why they've been able to do what they've done. It's not that they're, smarter, although a lot of them were, or they had like special opportunities. They just like kept working on the same thing when most people would have given up by that point. So, and I will mention, I'll pause here for a second, is, ask more questions for sure here. Let's see. Brittany's on. Hey, what's up, Brittany? Good to hear about the keyword research. You got Quentin as well. Okay. So one other thing I'll mention about the conference is I just, I was talking to some people, after I told the CEO that I wasn't using any of his products, but I'm open-minded. Just was walking by someone who spoke on Tuesday. I was like, hey man, really enjoyed your talk. It was a guy named Andy Fawcett. And he had like some dry humor, some dry jokes, which I appreciated. And he was all about, I think his talk was like double your profits using unconventional email like methods. And it was awesome because he was just talking about like de-automating stuff, talk to your customers, just randomly talk to them. Do like, he didn't say do like live streams like this, but really, I mean, I'm learning every time someone asks a question, and the more I hear the same question over and over again, I know that's something that people really want to hear about. So you really understand like who you're serving in your community if you do this like stuff. Um, but it was cool because then, I chatted with him a little bit and he does it's GMB Fitness. That's his site. So if you want to check it out, GMB Fitness. Anyway, I chatted with him for a little bit and then he was like, "Hey, we're going out for burgers. You want to come?" So I got to hang out with him and his crew and drink some beer and whiskey with him. So it was cool. Cool guy. The crazy thing is he's from Doraville, Georgia, and his parents still live there. That is like the same neighborhood. It's like a mile or two away from where my wife and I lived, and when we moved to Montana. So it was really cool. I was like, I can't believe like we live down the street. I mean, he went to like Dunwoody High School, which is, literally, a couple miles away from where we were at. He relocated, by the way. He lives in Hawaii now. So, okay, back to the questions here. So, and to recap, Sarah, if you want to get to 100 to 5,000, it is all about focus. And I will tell you, it's weird. It's probably, as a student, Sarah, I know your trajectory is upward. It may be as hard to get to 5,000 from 100 as it was to get from 0 to 100. So think about that for a second. It's just doing more of what you're already doing harder. Sahid is asking, any update on your course that will launch on the 22nd? Well, number one update is it's the 23rd. So if there was anything that was like on the 22nd or mentioned on the 22nd, oh, you know what, man? I'm sorry. You may be in a different time zone than me. So if you're like 24 hours ahead or whatever, maybe that's it. That wouldn't be right. That's the wrong direction. Anyway, it's Monday. 5-figure niche site comes out on Monday. Enrollment opens for 5 days. If you're not on the email list, you should sign up for the email list. If you go to nichesiteproject.com, click the green button, you can sign up. You'll hear about it. Okay. Brian says, have heard some say ignore building links. Wait 6 to 9 months, and if you have quality content, then it'll happen organically. Thoughts on ROI for working on guest posts versus not? And I hope some other people like saw that comment in the chat. Let Brian know what you think about waiting. And Brian, I know it's not your advice. Whoever said that, I disagree with him. I was going to say I think they're crazy or that's bad advice. That is bad advice. I think that is terrible advice. And I think it's a great way for people to quit what they're doing. Look, we all want to feel like, hey, if we put out quality content, things are going to happen organically. It doesn't. Nothing, like everything's hard. Like I put out so many videos on YouTube, like no one finds it, right? Like very few people find it. Like we have people on here because I have an email list. And, the way people are going to find it is through the analogous process in YouTube is doing YouTube collaborations. That's like a guest post on YouTube, basically. Like most things, I'm going to do a video on this at some point, but like no one cares about me. No one cares about like the stuff that I'm putting out. People want to know useful information, maybe slightly entertaining stuff from me. No one really cares about like my stuff or what I'm doing. It's just like, can I entertain you? That could be interesting. Or can I tell you something useful that could help you in some way? But otherwise, no one cares. As far as like not doing any link building, bad advice. If you follow the course, I say publish 10 posts, then you apply for, Amazon associates, and then you start link building right after that. The reason why we do this, I want you to start making revenue quickly. I know there are people in this chat right now who definitely did this, and they've mentioned it before. I won't call anyone out by name or anything, but like if you do this, you can start making a few bucks every couple days within like 4 to 6 weeks. It works. And Brian, I know you have time to work on stuff like this and the right background to make it happen. Okay. Sarah asks, does the KGR method, that's keyword golden ratio method, work for other online business effort? Yes, it does. Yeah, it's all about um, like keyword research. And then you say, for example, an authority site selling a course. Sure. Yep, it works for anything because it's based on, keyword ideas. Adrian says, when I'm doing blog commenting, is it bad to say at the end of the comment, thanks, Adrian, at blah, blah, blah? Yep, I would say that's bad. Because they're probably not going to approve it. It looks very self-promotional. So don't do that. And then we have hey, Brittany, give me a shout if when you guys are relocating to this area. Quentin says, when doing keyword golden ratio research and you find a term with a good ratio, should you be alarmed when when the non all in title search for the same term yields tens of thousands of results? Should you be concerned? No. Okay. Drifter says, when I flip this site at Flippa for 10K, may I know how much that website was making per month? Never sold anything on Flippa, but I have sold with Empire Flippers. It was making about $500 a month. That was like multiple years ago. So these days it would sell for more because multiples are higher these days. Sheik from Dallas, what is up? She says, I'm currently trying to find writers on Upwork, but you only seem to get responses from writers outside the US. Do I need to increase the pay to get native English speakers? Well, it depends on how much you're offering now. You should also just straight up say, I'm only hiring native English speakers. I am, non-negotiable on that. It's very important, blah, blah, blah. So, and yeah, I don't know how much you're offering, but I would say at a bare minimum for 1,000 words, you probably need to be offering, 12, 13 bucks. I pay more than that. I pay like 14-ish, 14, 15, 16 for about 1,000 words, give or take. I do not pay by the word. I don't want fluff and garbage. I'd rather have like an 800 word post that is good without like redundant information. So the whole point, you should pay a fair rate. You should ask for what you want for. And if you're only getting, responses from, non-English speakers, you need to tighten up your application and you need to tighten up like what you're asking for within the listing. Okay. KVT says, I'm thinking of using expired domains with less links to skip the sandbox period. What do I think? Go for it. Give it a shot. Let me know how it goes. If you're getting a true expired domain, it may help, right? Sometimes I've heard this where like an expired domain, maybe that has been expired for like 5 years. It takes a while to like get that re-indexed and stuff. I don't know the mechanism. I've never done it myself. What I would recommend is you buy an existing domain, an existing blog that has like content on it and it's kept up. Like buy an existing blog and then you'll like if your goal is to skip the sandbox, buy an existing site. All right. And Drifter, just saw your comment about auction domain or non-drop domain. Yeah, I generally agree with that. Now, are there exceptions to the rule? Yeah, in both directions. So if you get an expired domain, maybe you skip it. I don't know. Maybe you just get lucky. If you get an auction domain or a non-drop domain, it may not work as well. There's a lot of factors involved. So, all right. Sahid, you say already signed up. What would be the pricing and what will you cover on that project? I'm not sure what you're asking about. Sorry. Can you rephrase it in like a full question? Not sure the context there. As we go through here. Right. There's some back and forth, which is cool. Totally fine. Okay. Um, USA says, how long will it take for a new website to rank, or how long for a blog post to rank? If you use the keyword golden ratio, it can rank within like a few days, like in the top 30 or 50 or so. If you want to rank number one, it depends on the term, the competition, and like a million other factors. So it's hard to say. But generally, if you're following like what's in five figure niche site, or right, if you don't want to buy the course, fine with me. Go watch the videos on the keyword golden ratio and implement that. You should be able to rank within a few days, even with a brand new site. I've seen it a number of times. If your site's been around for a little while, you may be able to rank like in the top 10, top 5 within like a day. Um, if you're talking about, and by the way, so those are low volume keywords. If you are going for high volume keywords, like say over 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, it could take a year to 18 months. But if you are asking that question, I would recommend that you don't do that because you're probably going to quit before you rank or make any money. Sahid says, what are the first few types of links you can create for your Amazon Associate website? You can create social profiles and then do blog commenting. Brittany says, you have your site on your Instagram bio. Is that a good or a bad idea? That's fine. I think that's fine. That is an area in which, social profiles where you can get those links. If for some reason, like you're trying to hide it, like I wouldn't share my domains, like anyone on here, I wouldn't share like your site with anyone in an internet marketing area, right? Because people are going to copy you and stuff like that. That sucks. And then if you lost my train of thought. Oh, and I was going to say, I see people like they comment on my blog at Niche Site Project and they put their niche site in there. It's kind of dumb. Like it's not really going to help you rank or bring you any traffic. And like you're giving your site and your keywords to like other people like that are trying to do the same thing as you. It's like kind of a bad idea. It's not going to help you. But in this case, Brittany, on social profiles, like could be a great way to bring in traffic, especially if you have like, an active Instagram following. Sahid says, you already signed up for the email. You're interested to know the pricing for the course. You will find out the pricing for the course on Monday. It is a premium course. I only want people who are very serious to enroll. So that means it's kind of expensive. That's that's my way of saying it's kind of expensive. It is a premium course for people who are very serious. Okay, so Sahid, you get the email on Monday. You get all the information, everything about the course, everything that's included, and there are like even more like upgrades and stuff this time around. It is probably it's on the edge of too much. I may have to back it out for next time. All right, Sarah gave a little tip on the comments, so you can, do that. That is a good way to do it. I see it all the time. It's quite normal to have your name, like in the website field for your blog comments. You put your name, and then like your website, like brandable name. Totally cool, and it's keyword rich. Drifter says, what's the multiple for Flippa sites nowadays? No clue. I don't use Flippa or really recommend it. When using the keyword golden ratio, does it matter when I use localized results? You noticed in general, the search volume is lower. You should use whichever like search, what am I trying to say? You should use whichever version of Google you are targeting. So if you're targeting the UK, use the UK. It should work out just in general. If you're going for the US market, don't use the UK. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, and just to follow up, Quentin, Quentin Drifter talking about Flippa. Yeah, I mean, it varies and just generally, like, on Flippa, I mean, you get a lower multiple, and generally, it's like a lower quality of site. Not always, right? But, I mean, it's worked out that way. Like, if I had a site and I have the opportunity to sell it and I can get, like, a bigger multiple somewhere else, I'm not gonna go to Flippa. Like, the quality has always been a little rough on the Flippa side, and I've never had interest to work there at all. All right. All right. Any more questions? It looks like we got through. There's a lot of discussion on Flippa. And you know what? The biggest thing with Flippa is anytime I've heard someone being scammed, getting a site that like had like earnings that were faked or some kind of issue, 100% of the time it's been on Flippa. It doesn't mean that all the sites on there are bad, but it sounds like if you're getting a site that is like of lower quality, or someone tells me they've been scammed in some fashion for buying a website, they bought it from Flippa. They probably didn't buy it from like Empire Flippers or FE International or some other reputable broker. So, all right. Adrian says, you did a random search of one of your website names on Google. It comes up on page one, third or fourth, but appears for About Us. Is that good or bad? Thanks, Leo, for joining up. See ya. Have a good weekend. Looking forward to your email. Adrian, yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad. It's kind of it's a random fact. So, I mean, I would maybe prefer that your homepage came up first, but it doesn't really tell me anything. USA says, how many blog posts do I need for a new website? 10 is what I recommend. And do I have to post a blog post every week? No. No, you don't. Um, you don't. So, and I realized, Brian asked the question earlier about, hey, I heard, I should just publish content for like 9 or 10 months. And if it's good, then it'll rank. In fact, I mean, I could go rant on this for a while, but like the case study that Niche Pursuits did last year, there was a lot of that kind of talk like, hey, just publish a shitload of content. They were talking about old linking tactics like sign up for RSS feeds and like free directories and stuff. Like that stuff, if everyone can do it, it's just not a valuable use of your time. Like that, those links are not going to be helpful. It's just silly. But the point is, USA, you probably have heard like this type of advice from like older, tactics or whatever, or maybe, people that aren't actually like practicing what they're preaching and they're telling people to do stuff that worked like 4 years ago and just doesn't work anymore. So you don't like, I bring the project management approach to this. So like you can basically like publish 10 pieces of content, then work on promoting that first. And you'll be better off. Okay, Quentin says sometimes you struggle finding decent blog post images to use via Creative Commons. If there's no good images to use, what do you end up doing? You could look at, if you go to my site, like nichesiteproject.com/resources, there's a list of like a few other free areas to get images. So if you can't find anything, you can buy one or don't put an image. So I would say look harder. Like find something. It doesn't have to be like the exact product, just find something. So, like, and if you really can't find anything, you could buy an image for like $1. So just do that. And we have Dave Fox on here. What's up? Good to have you on. And who has heard of Dave from the other videos on the channel? Anyone else hear of Dave? Okay. Imran says there are many courses available on Amazon niche sites. What makes mine unique? Good question. So I have a certification called PMP. It's the Project Management Professional like certification from PMI. I have a corporate background and I bring like structure and framework from my corporate like life before I got laid off to niche sites. So if you enjoy project management or the organization of just being able to repeat a process over and over again, my course is very good. Also, if you enjoy listening to me talk, that is another big indication that maybe my course is for you. If you look at some of the other courses, some of them are just written content, right? Some of them are just written content. Like my friend, she's at Skip Blast. It's Shauna Newman. She has a similar course. She's great, right? I actually met her in person in Bozeman. We shared a coffee and just talked shop a little bit when she was driving through the area. And basically, like her course is just written content because that's what she wanted to do. It's very good. She's super smart and she is definitely an implementer, right? She does this stuff. She's doing really well and she's been doing it for a long time, like twice as long as me. So if you like the written word, check out Shonda's stuff. If you want like a sheer like huge amount of information, the guys at Authority Hacker are great. I haven't talked to them in a while, but they're very smart. If you enjoy listening to them talk, you enjoy their work, you should probably get their stuff. But from my perspective, I have a project management framework that connects really well with people that are in the IT industry, project managers, like you would imagine, software developers, and people in a technical mind frame. Now, there's other people that have like no technical background or whatever, no IT background, and they enjoy it too. But they enjoy like the fact that I have the corporate sort of, I guess, organizational skills. I'm very good. One of the other big differences, I'm very good at like building teams because I did in my other career. So if that's an area, like if you need to scale or if you know you need to grow a team, my course could be for you. But if you don't like listening to me talk, if you don't have the cash available, like my course isn't for you. There's other stuff you can do instead. If you can't afford the course that comes out next week, by the way, so it's only open for 5 days. So you do need to make a decision next week on it. But if you can't afford it, which I, respect, if you don't have the cash for it, that's kind of fine. It's totally cool. There's tons of videos on YouTube. You can watch like 100 hours of my content and piece together some of the right things to do. Okay. So Imran, thanks for asking that. I'll probably talk more about that in the coming days. I think I'm probably going to do live streams like each day next week, most likely. Okay. Adrian, see you later. Yeah, so people know Dave. Dave's a celebrity around here. Awesome, awesome. And then the Furman says, Doug doesn't give you BS and it's genuine advice. Thanks. Yeah, yeah. Cool. John says, what would happen if you wrote only KGR articles with backlinking? If good, how much backlinking per 100 KGR articles? I don't know. I've never tried that like specifically. So I don't know. My guess is if you did that with backlinking, it would kick ass, right? So I've done that, but I haven't measured the backlinking per article or whatever. But I have at least one example where it's doing really well. It's a multiple six-figure site, and it's consistently earning. Layla says, did I reveal the price of the course already? No, I won't mention it here. You will find out on Monday. And yep. Layla also asked, what's the motivation behind only having your course available for a limited time? From a marketing perspective, it allows me to create urgency around it. So I know people are interested in the course here, but this part of this is just marketing, and I'm I mean, a lot of what I did in the conference and a lot of the talks were about like scarcity, urgency, and like other marketing topics, which are hugely interesting. The number one reason, Layla, is I don't want people to not make a decision. I'll send out these emails, and usually, um, most people don't read my emails. Sad. I put so much time into them. Most people don't read my emails. And if you do read the emails, the other huge set of people don't make a decision. By providing you with this launch structure of just 5 days, you know it's coming. You have to make a decision in 5 days. And if you don't, there are no exceptions, right? If you email me on Saturday, like, oh no, like this crazy thing happened all week long, I was out of town, I was filling the excuse, there are no exceptions. You're out. You have to wait until next time. And, you know, that is just how I am operating. So hopefully that I explained it well, but it forces people to make a decision. And I have personally purchased courses because of those specific timeframes and scarcity, because it forces action, it forces a decision. And the worst thing that you can do is not make a decision, and that is the easiest thing to do. So I'm forcing you to do it. Brian says, what's the pace of the course? My speed or yours? It is my speed. So it's stripped out, the content's stripped out over the course of 8 weeks plus, depending on if you get the bonus courses. The reason why is, again, I'm trying to encourage you to take action. So when I first had courses back in the day, a lot of people would just enroll in the course, watch all the videos. They would think, oh, hey, I already know how to do keyword research because I watched something and I did this other thing. So I already know that part. I'm just going to speed through it. I'm not going to do the work. And then they watch the next video and they binge watch the course and eventually don't take action. So again, another non-negotiable is the course is dripped out, and it allows you to, spend time finding your niche. You have 2 weeks to do competition analysis and find your niche. And I give you time for it because you need time to do it. And again, I don't want people to not take action because they think they know how to do it. And personally, I in January of 2016, I bought an expensive course. It was like $4,000. It was from Social Triggers, and it was called 7-Figure Courses, and it was about creating courses. And I knew a lot of the information. I already had courses before. I already knew the material, and I really didn't think I needed to go through the beginning of the course and do all the brainstorming and stuff like that. But because I paid so much for the course, I was like, I'm going to do every exercise. I'm going to do every worksheet. I'm going to do every little thing that Derek tells me to do. And even if I think it's dumb and I already know it, I'm going to do it because I'm paying so much for it. So I'm going to do it. And it was critical. That stuff at the beginning was the foundation, right? It is the keyword research that you're doing and the niche selection. You can't, speed over that. And I know, Brian, you weren't pushing me on it or anything, but I think it's important for me to, point out like the reasons why. So it's not because I want to, slow people down. It's because well, I guess it is. It's not that I don't want to allow people to work at their own pace. It's that I probably know better than you on how much time you should spend in certain areas. Okay. And then Imran says, I really like your videos. Thanks, Imran. I appreciate it. And I encourage you, other courses are out there, right? Go check them out. See if you like them. There's a former student of mine who took my course like way back in 2014, different iteration, guy named Tung Tran, and he has a totally different, style. He's from Vietnam, really smart. He's done really well. He does like public case studies. You can go check out his site. If you connect with the way he teaches, take his course. There's someone right for you. And I encourage you to pick one person or group, take that course, do that. Don't mix and match until you like understand how to do the core basics. You can run into trouble if you try and do multiple implementations of different plans. So, all right. All right. Um, and Drifter is giving me compliments here. Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't have my hat on today. It's a little warmer here. Beautiful weather, beautiful fall weather here in Montana today. Brian Tan is on. What's up? You mentioned the content video last week. Did I miss it? Potentially. I'm not sure which content video you're talking about or when I mentioned it myself. However, if you go to my YouTube channel and you search for like content video or content and some sort of other qualifiers that obviously you could search for, you should be able to find what you're looking for. It may not be the one from last week. If you did get an email from me, there's probably a replay link in which you could get to it. But currently it's probably unlisted. It will eventually come out, but you could probably find similar content or related information. And then Shrikant says, can you create more affiliate program? Can you clarify? I'm not 100% sure what you're asking there. Sheik says, you appreciate that I give out information without the heavy sales pitch of other gurus. Yeah, and I don't claim to be a guru. I'm just a guy who tells you like what I'm doing and what I'm implementing and what I see like other folks doing. And I gladly tell you, go check out the other courses, right? If you like those guys and gals, take their course. Don't take mine. If you like me, take my course. I will tell you that if you take some courses, you will end up back here and you will still watch my channel and you will think, hey, maybe I need to buy Doug's course. I'll say it again. If you go get some of those other courses, you will still be back here. I know it. And I know some of the people on here right now have purchased other courses and then they came back to my course and bought it. All right. Brian says enrollment is limited. How many folks? 5, 10, 100. Enrollment is limited for the premium section. So that's like one-on-one stuff. And there's only a certain number of slots open. I don't like release how many slots are out there, but it depends on like how many people buy like right up front versus not. For the advanced section, which is like the most popular section, for the advanced section, it's the middle tier. It's unlimited. As many people can join that. It's based on like group Q&A calls. All right. Dennis says, trust in Doug. He's a no BS guy. Thanks. See you, Dennis. Take it easy. Take it easy. Okay, KVT says, my website is #1 when you try all in title search, but you can't find it in the search results. Okay, those are two different searches. So most likely you need to look at your on page, make sure it's good. You need to look at your off page, and you probably need more links. Like 99% of the time, if you're not ranking, you need more links. All right. Brian says, you were looking for a content template about hiring. I said, look forward to it this week. And John, I think I answered your question already. What would happen if you only wrote KGR articles with backlinking? It would make a lot of money, most likely. I don't know how much backlinking you would have to do for 100 KGR articles. I would probably say like It depends on the terms, but yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a weird way to look at it. Like I do sprints of work and I recommend you do sprints of work. So I would say publish 10 articles, 10, mostly KGR articles, get, about 15 guest posts to those 10 and then do another set. That's what I recommend. I would not recommend that you do 100 articles right off the bat and then figure out how much backlinking to do. Shouldn't do that. Layla says, "What's the name of the Vietnamese guy? Is Tung Tran. He blogs at Cloud Living. And I will point out he did he took my course and then later created his own course. And at the time, I published a book, and he bought the book, and then he said, 'Hey, I'm going to write a book,' and then." He came out with his own membership site. So yeah, I would check him out. I will also mention he's doing a 10K public case study that he started a couple years ago. He hasn't hit 10K yet, and he's having issues with his site. So Cloud Living. That's his site. You can go check it out. And he published a lot of stuff on his case study, but he doesn't actually, in my opinion, in that case study, he's not actually providing much information. He's really just talking about like results, and then he pitches you his course through each one of those case studies. But he did have a case study, like a public case study, so you can go see his site. You could reverse engineer what he's done and that sort of thing. All right. So Layla, I would say I would recommend like Authority Hacker over Tongue site, but that's just my personal opinion. Those guys do a podcast. They're very, very smart. Drifter says, "What can you do to secure your website from getting hacked?" There's a couple plugins I would recommend. There's a Jetpack plugin for like, I guess it prevents brute force type attacks. So I would say use something like that. And there's a few other security plugins, but the main thing is you probably should do like off server backups using some mechanism. There's free plugins for that. There's paid services for it. I use Managed WP because it's like $2 a month, and it's a service, and they provide it. It's offsite. The Furman UK says, in regards to the keyword golden ratio, if the search volume is below 100 or even 50, is it worth even creating an article for? Yes. You've seen zero search volume. So when I was testing this concept in December of 2015, I published 20 articles to do a test. I don't know, maybe like 10% of them, 15% didn't really rank. And we'll just keep the math easy. 10% didn't rank. Let's see, like 87.5% did rank, like in the top like 20 or so. Some of those were in the top 10. That was cool. And like 2.5% ranked like, I don't know, like in the top 5. One of them ranked number 1, which was cool. It was a 0 searches per month Furman. 0 searches per month. I published it because I thought, hey, I'm testing it out. So it ranked number 1. It is a term that's like blah, blah, blah. So product type. So blah, blah, blah for under $400. So that means the product costs around $400. Everybody with me? Everybody paying attention? So it's a 0 searches per month term. No one searches for it per month. That's weird, right? But Google said, all right, we're reporting it anyway. And that really means on average per month, there's only like, you know, less than 10, right? They round down. So less than 10, they're rounding down. So currently, still to this day, I get like 20 to 30 visitors per day. So it's multiple hundred per month that are going to this page that's targeting a 0 searches per month term. That's weird, right? So it's getting like way more traffic than you would expect. And the deal is long tail traffic, right? So people are searching for some long phrase that Google doesn't even register and is pulling in all this traffic. So the point is, the Furman, everything you think you know about keyword research is wrong. You can go after um, like 0 local monthly searches per month and not only get traffic, but you can get a lot of traffic. You could also go after commercial terms that will get a lot of traffic. Remember, these products are like multiple hundreds of dollars. It is one of my most profitable pages, and people won't go after it because they think, 0 searches. I'm looking for 5,000 searches per month because they're following some other guy like Tongue or something like that. All right. So Furman, that was a long answer, but I wanted to give you the full context on why I'm so confident in telling you that that can work. And it turns out with less competition, you could rank faster. I have no links to that page. All right. Tao says, you started changing your LMS to 10 when it shows a 0. Yeah, great idea to just automatically do that. If Google is reporting it as like some volume, then sure, yeah, go for it. John says, I think it would be difficult to have it open because you have some direct instruction with the students, which you keep consistent. Hard to get new people caught up to others. Yeah, thanks. And people are saying great advice. You signed up and spent hours doing keyword research and keyword CAG. Cool. All right. Any other questions? We're going over an hour here. We have a handful of people. Oh, and if Dave's still on, Dave, do you have any questions? What's going on with you, man? Do you want to hop on here live? I don't know if you're still on. I can ping you a link. I think I can invite you. Um, I'd have to sign on to Skype and ping you over there, but all right. Any other questions? So I guess I can mention again, the course is coming out on Monday. We all right, Dave, I'll ping you just to see if this thing will work. It may not. I think I can get a link for you here. YouTube page. Oh, I need to add you. I need to invite you. And Dave, it's on Google Hangouts, so I'm going to Skype. If it doesn't work, we'll just chalk it up to being a cool thing. Yeah. Does anyone want to hear Dave? Okay, you're on Messenger. All right. Yeah, this was unplanned, folks. So this is if you have questions for Dave, you can line them up. I should have done this proper. All right. Like I said, we'll see if this stuff works here. We didn't test this. We'll see if it works. Maybe I shared the wrong link with you. You're still in the same chat there, Dave. Gotta love technology. Okay, let me check again here. Let me make sure I got you the right link. Embed video. I want to invite a person, share the permalink. Huh. Again here, let me make sure I got you the right link. Oh, boom. There's Dave.
Hey.
Invite a person, share the permalink. You may need to pause the...
Oh, get off YouTube, yeah.
What's up, man?
Not too much. How's it going?
Doing pretty good. We got the crew on here. So if people have questions for Dave, you could ask. But yeah, Dave, so what's new with you? Anything to share about your sites currently?
I don't know, just kind of getting up and getting into some work. So just a usual day at the office here. Where's the chat thing? I can't find the...
Oh, it is going to be on the YouTube like display page.
Oh, it's in YouTube.
So I will keep an eye on it.
Okay.
No one's asked any questions yet, but after doing like 100 of these live streams,
yeah,
I finally figured out how to like watch the chat at the same time. So
okay, so there's no chat thing in this. Okay, no. Whatever. Are there are other people on like audio wise or?
No, just it's just me and you. Usually I'm just going solo here, and yeah, and it's like the actual real like live stream people should see us. I'm just gonna test it myself. I usually pause the stuff on the YouTube end.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And whenever you talk, it like pops you up. So
got it. Yeah, so what's up?
Not too much, just sort of like ramping up for the course. I'll tell you, this morning, since now we're just doing a casual chat,
yeah.
This morning I was like gonna do some just like final touches to the sales page, right? So I have to make some updates. But the thing is, I'm using Thrive Content Builder. Oh man, do you use Thrive?
Not really, no.
Okay, good. Don't ever start. It's like the worst thing. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemies or anything like that.
I started using it and then I stopped using it because I couldn't handle it.
You're brilliant. Yeah, it's the biggest, like, I just want to cuss a lot right now. But basically, I was just trying to change like the date from like, you know, the date for Monday, right? So I'm just trying to change something super simple, and it's like messing up my whole page. Like swaths of text are going away.
Oh no.
Then like once I get it in there, I'm like, oh, I just want to change the color because gray doesn't look good on white.
Right.
Why is that the default color?
Yeah.
And then we'll like change color or font or whatever. So, and I'm 100% sure it's user error.
Yeah,
it's my fault.
I've heard it's really good, and a lot of people say that it's awesome. And I tried it for like a month, and I'm like, I can't get into it.
Yeah, it can be valuable for certain like little areas, but when you have, you know, people telling you to use it, that they're affiliates for Thrive, and they're saying, oh, like you got to have a beautiful looking web page, or blah blah blah. It's just BS. They're just trying to sell affiliate stuff, and they're friends with, you know, the owner over there, and I'm trying to get off their platform as soon as possible.
Right. So, I still have some Thrive themes like built into my sites, but I don't think like, I think I'm using like a couple Thrive themes, but they're just the theme.
Yep.
Not the content builder.
Just bloated. And even, I mean, if you try to do all the fancy formatting, it'll like slow your web page down, and it's hard to use. The customer service is really poor, very slow. So anyway, stop complaining. Nobody wants to hear me complain. All right, we got a couple questions here. Diedrich from YouTube says you've seen all the videos with Dave, and they're asking, what are you up to? Are you just building your current sites, or you're building any new sites?
Well, basically, last year I started about 3 new sites, so I already had about 4 sites, and then I went ahead and did 3 more sites, which might have not been the best idea to start 3 whole new sites. I think you know this, right? Like I've just made a lot of sites now, and maybe I shouldn't have done that because it's probably better to have a smaller portfolio of sites possibly, but I was just like kind of going wild and making more sites, but it takes up so much time to have even one site. Yeah. So having like 8 sites is pretty much insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sort of occupied the last year.
Yeah. And it we did talk a little bit, like a couple times, like not in a published video, where I was like, hey man, like just focus down, buckle down. Like I've been there, Rob's been there, another guy, you know, that we both know, you know, we've all been there where it's like, all right, we need to expand, we need to scale. And then, you know, just myself, I'm like, oh, I want to do like less and less and less. And just like my stress melts away when I do that. So
so I operated on a high level of stress at all.
Yeah. Well, and I used to have as much hair as you, Dave, you know, back in the day, but the stress finally got to me.
The niche sites.
I'm just kidding. I never had much hair. Okay. Brittany says, what course did Dave take? Dave was sort of like one of the, like, Dave, I feel like I've influenced you in some ways. You've influenced me, right? So I coached Dave before the course. We did one-on-one stuff for about 5 months in 2015. And then I launched the course like a year and a half after that, after I refined like the stuff we went through. It worked for Dave. I tested it. And then the course came out after that. So Dave did one-on-one coaching, which generally is unavailable and never at the price that Dave got coaching at.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah. So yeah, Dave, thanks. I mean, like really that sort of shaped. I was like, oh, I do like, you know, teaching people and stuff like that. So
yeah, it was cool. Like, well, you kind of like saved my ass a little bit, right? Because of the direction I was going. So
yeah, you know, it was a good match. Right time for both of us. A couple people did note that they are having issues with Thrive as well. The Furman, there must be an alternative to Thrive, and you've heard other podcasts say how bad it is. And I think, you know, they are excellent marketers. Like they come from a marketing background and they were building a theme for marketers, and like there's some value to it, right? I wouldn't use it if there wasn't value to it. But as far as alternatives, yeah, there's tons. I'm most likely going to move over to like lead pages for this type of thing, just because they have like well-built pages. But I actually hired a developer to I was like, hey, here's the core page. Just put in HTML and CSS, and I will deal with code. And I'd rather do that, like custom built, like flat HTML page, because it's fairly static. I'm not going to build a new one. So I'm paying him $100 to port it over, migrate it over, that is, and I can edit it directly in the WordPress like post or page or whatever it is. And then I don't have to touch Thrive again. And as far as themes, there's like a million of them. So yeah, there's totally plenty of different areas, but the Thrive folks really, they have a strong connection to the affiliate marketers that a lot of us follow and know. So that's why you get Thrive themes like shoved down your throat from everybody.
I'm pretty sure that happened to me.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you got to use Thrive, and then you hear other people using Thrive, and it's just a piece of crap. So, and this is one, like, I'm not a huge affiliate guy because I usually just tell you what I think. It's not a very, that's not a good affiliate.
No.
Not effective if I'm like bad mouthing. Okay. So anyway.
For anyone.
So the Furman says, and by the way, Dave, if you got a jet, just let me know. Or do you have a question for me? Can I help you today?
Let's see. Just trying to think of what's going on. Shoot.
About.
I think it's something specific at some point, probably, and chime in.
Okay.
I'm sure I've got questions.
It could be unrelated, you know, to internet marketing. It could be
Yeah. Okay.
life advice or something. No, I'm just kidding. All right. We had another question come in. The Furman says, what's stopping you from launching a new site every month? Sanity. And I think, Dave, you would echo that too. Like there's no reason to launch a site every month. I've gotten a few emails in the last few days. Some people are like, oh, you know what? I want to launch a site. I want it to make $100 a month. And then I'm going to launch like 5 more. And I'm like, no. Like if you launch the right site, you should be able to make like 5, 10, 20K a month. Like, or you're doing it wrong. Like you should be able to expand it to that level. It
takes forever to expand it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there's no reason to have more than like 2, 3 sites. So yeah, it's just really hard to launch a lot of things and have them going because they all have like a tiny bit of overhead, each one. So, all right. And Tim asks, how many do you think you can manage correctly, Dave? Like, yeah, how many sites do you think is the right number for you?
Well, now I'm sort of stuck with 8. So I kind of bounce around a lot. And I think that it definitely, like, there's some distraction going on because I basically focus on, like, I get kind of emotional. I work on sites that maybe are like, I want them to work, but they're not working at the time. So I get sucked into those sites for like weeks and months, and then the sites that could be making more money, I'm kind of ignoring them because I'm being stubborn. Like you're just sort of like running around doing all sorts of stuff, and so it does probably like hinder your ability to make more money. But I'm not really like so much a money-based guy anyway, so like I enjoy the runaround a little bit. But like honestly, if you're trying to make money, maybe don't have so much to do, like because all the sites have the potential to be really big, and so you're like, it's just crazy. Like there's just so much to do. You're just going, like, you're going insane. Yeah.
Right. So based on that, it sounds like maybe 2 or 3 sites would be like the right number for you. So you could like have variations. You could like work on one site for, a month or 2 months and then go to the next one. So maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, it's just, it depends how big you're going to make them. Because I guess they really do have the potential to be so enormous. Like I'm getting to the point now where my sites are like, I have to talk to my hosting guys again because I'm afraid that they're going to like crash because they're getting so big. I wouldn't say bloated, but like, they're getting so big and there's so much content and so many images on there that it's like, at what point is this going to like I did this scalable hosting thing. So like, if it starts to like kind of lag, then it will throw on some more like space or whatever. So, or speed. So, but I still think eventually I'm going to end up on my own like VPN or whatever it is. Right.
Yeah. Yep. I had to do that myself. Like I just had to move over to VPS and, I was paying $25 a month. And then I moved over to another plan where, it's greatly upgraded. And I'm paying like $125 a month, and now it's fine. Now it like I have no issues. But I hit the point, and I've talked to a couple of my friends, like I hit the point between like 2,000 and 3,000 unique visitors a day, where the site was having like some issues. WordPress was having trouble, like working.
Right. Yeah, like I noticed when I'm trying to like publish a post now on certain sites, it takes like 2 minutes to publish.
Oh, yep.
It's just like, we're getting it on there. Hold on a second. And then it finally pops up and I'm like, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah, that is exactly. So with the holidays coming up, you may want to get on that real quick.
Yeah. Well, I've looked in my, I've glanced in my hosting and like, it'll say, it'll have like your usage. The usage seems okay. But I had an issue not long ago that was with because at one point there was like the thing with the inodes. Do you know about the inodes? Mm-hmm. It's like the thing where in your hosting, like it happened on HostGator one time when my sites were crashing and they're like, oh, you've overused your inodes, and I'm like, what's an inode? And they're like, oh, it's just your files your file space or something. I'm like, what's that? I've never heard of this. They're just, so eventually I had to get off HostGator because I couldn't clear enough space, and I don't like HostGator anyway. Like their customer service is bad, and
Yeah.
so I just bailed on HostGator. But then it went from inodes, and now the latest thing is I think it's interactions or something in the hosting that's like a usage metric where it's talking about if you overuse it, then you're fucked.
Gotcha. So I think that like you should open a ticket or contact support or whatever with whoever you're with, and
Right.
just ask them, like, let them know how many visitors you're getting per day and let them know that issue, because they may be able to look into it deeper,
Yeah.
and recommend that you need like more memory or more processor cores, because like it comes down to not the metrics you could see. It's only like when your site's loaded, and what's going to happen in the next 3 months or whatever, like your traffic's just going to go up naturally, because that's how this works. And I don't want your site to go down in this critical period. Like mine was going down in the middle of August, and I was like, oh, all right, I got to like do something right now. So I took care of it then. So I'm good to go right now.
Yeah.
So you're in the critical period, but your site will definitely get effed in like this new period if you don't do something.
Yeah, well, the thing is, this was like I already like went through this with them about 2 months ago, because what happened was the sites were crashing, and I had this like the thing that reports immediately to your, like, it's like a ping, it pings you in your email when your sites go down. So like every day my sites were going down all the time, and this was because I was on whatever package I had with these guys, and then I messaged them and they said, oh, just get the scalable thing. I'm like, okay, why wouldn't I just get the private thing? And they're like, well, that they kind of talked me out of it and talked me into getting the scalable thing. So they're just like, you don't need that, because I forget what they said, but they had some reason why I shouldn't get that, and why I should just get, they're like the scalable thing. I think they're just trying to promote the scalable hosting thing, where it just sort of does it for you and it charges you when it needs to be done. So and then it stopped, all the crashing stopped. So I was happy, because I was generally, this host was like pretty good. Like there was never any problems. Their customer service was really good, but the crashing was bad.
Yeah.
And then it stopped, and now it's more like there's like load times on my end, but I don't think it's on the user end.
Right. I have seen that too, where it's like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay. Well, let me know if you need anything, Dave. Because it's like, it's so stressful. Like my site was like basically down for like 3-4 days. It was like,
shit.
It was a lot of money,
That's not good.
Okay. Couple questions came through here. The Furman says, if you've paid writers, content managers, the main grunt work is done, right? Yeah, sure. It's more complex than that, but yeah, I mean, that is grunt work, but I mean, you also have like the promotion section of work, which is quite important as well. Layla says, do you start building links to keyword golden ratio articles immediately, or do you let them sit a bit? What approach do you recommend for a new site that's like 3 months old? Dave, you have any thoughts on that? You didn't necessarily do keyword golden ratio stuff.
Yeah.
Time, right?
Like, no, people have mentioned it to me, because I guess they've been talking to you or whatever, but I just do things pretty like simply, as far as like I just do the research into the keyword, and then once I get the title and the permalink, it's sort of like, it's all pretty natural, organic stuff, where I don't sort of like fret over the keywords too much. I'm just like, make sure that the post, like my writer writes about the topic, and that the title is correct, and that the permalink is correct, and that it's on point, and that's about it,
Cool.
Go from there.
So Layla, I would say, yeah, if you what do? I usually let it sit for a little while to see where they sort of settle out, because they'll move up in rankings just over time. And then, if I'm doing link building, I take a look at what makes sense. So, and I do less link building than a lot of other people because of the keyword golden ratio. Brian says, scaling an existing site. So some have said, They'd rather try to squeeze more from a single site than create more sites. Hold on. Squeeze more from a single site, create more sites in the same niche to rank 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I'm trying to interpret that question. Yeah, that seems fine. I've heard of people doing that where basically you have like 4 sites in the same niche and you're trying to take over, you know, the keywords already and blah, blah, blah. That's a great approach. You already know the niche. So do that. And we'll keep going here. Diedrich says, Dave or Doug, have you implemented accelerated mobile pages? Have you done that, Dave?
Accelerated mobile pages. What's an accelerated mobile page?
That is pretty close to my impression of it. So no, neither of us have. I don't think it matters right now. So,
well, mobile is like a big thing. I recently was noticing that a couple of my sites are, even though I've had them for so long, I just they're not good on mobile still. A couple of them because of the theme, I guess. And it's like, obviously by now your site has to work on mobile because there's so much mobile traffic. And when you realize, like, we've been doing this for a while, and if you realize your site doesn't look good on mobile, it's like, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, for me, I've never done the actual accelerated, which is a specific implementation.
Yeah.
I have a responsive theme, you have a responsive theme. And, you know, like when I look, there's a lot of traffic coming from mobile, but, you know, not the majority. So as far as like getting a better click-through rate from Google, I have no idea, but if you're into it, like, go for it. My thought is a lot of like these extra things, like the core shit that Dave and I have already talked about, like keyword research, like get the content right, do a good job, like delivering info to the user, to the visitor. Like that's the number one thing. Get backlinks. That's another huge thing. If you're adding like one little thing, like changing the color of your buttons or the call to action or the accelerated mobile pages, is not going to be like, oh, I doubled my revenue because I did the accelerated mobile page. It's going to be like 0.5%, like within the margin of error that you can't even tell, most likely.
Yeah.
Of course, I have not done that.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, it is one of these tiny things. It's probably not going to make a difference. All right.
Here's a question for you. Do you still look at like, do you ever look at domain authority at this point? Is that a metric that you look at all?
I do, in a relative sense for like competition analysis,
Right.
but like for my own site. In fact, someone asked me a question the other day, like, hey, what can I do to improve my domain authority? You really shouldn't care what your domain authority is. You should care about your rankings and your traffic and your revenue.
That's
Like,
true.
if you're looking at your domain authority, you're looking at the wrong metric. So now, is there a correlation between some of those things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a correlation between like your domain authority and the number of links? Yeah. But really, who cares about your domain authority? That is the wrong thing to look at. So the point is, it does give you a relative idea when competition or in
Yeah.
competition analysis.
Well, the reason I was wondering is because, like, when I do like an article now and I publish it, I usually like to check like the rankings like after a few days just to see if it's in there. Like, how long do you wait before you look in the SERPs before you can see yourself? Because I've been looking more lately just to see when I pop up, and it usually, I think, as the domain authority goes up, if that's what it is, like the article pops, like at a certain point you start popping in there faster, and then you get bounced up, bounced down, put back up there, start climbing. Like, at what point do you see yourself and your articles show up?
Gotcha. Well, in a lot of cases,
Or do you check?
yeah, I don't check that often.
Yeah.
But basically, it's usually like in the top 100 or 50, or a lot of times like in the top 20, like the day that it's published.
Is it really?
Yeah. And I'm doing the keyword golden ratio stuff a lot of times. But to be honest with you, I don't like look that closely, hardly ever.
Right.
So, and it's just at this point, I have so much content and I'm publishing so much that I'm like not really looking. That said, you know, I'm publishing a lot this year over the last couple months, and I actually haven't even added the new content to my SERP tracker. So I don't even know.
Yeah.
So I guess to answer your question, I wait like maybe a month or two or whenever I have time.
Yeah, just because sometimes for fun, I check to see if it's in there, because I used to, for sites that are newer, like, because it's Google's robots come along and they index you and they put you in there. But if your site's newer, it takes longer for them to do that, right?
Yeah, generally, I mean, you can go fetch the page. Like
Right.
a lot of people with a new site, they may go fetch their page and index it, and then they should show up if it's a keyword golden ratio deal.
Right.
So, we got a couple more questions, and like I said, Dave, if you got a jet, actually do some work.
Yeah.
Feel free.
Now, at some point I have to head out, but yeah, I'm cool to chill for a little bit.
Okay, cool. Yeah, me too. I got to go to the gym eventually. So,
yeah.
Tim says, have I ever thought about partnering with someone or anyone on a site to help it reach its potential? Yeah, I mean, I actually did that with Rob. So Rob and I like worked together and we sold the site in Project Go White Hat, of course. What about you, Dave? You've partnered with a few people, right?
Yeah, I have 2 sites that are with partners, and they're both actually, it's both pretty good relationships with those people. So I'm glad that I'm doing that, because like you do have to, like, we split the money, but we have more fun in the sense that we like can bounce ideas and we tag team with the content, and we both sort of have different backgrounds. Like, so it's more educational for me to have that, I guess, like, to do that. So yeah, I have a couple that are partnered, I guess.
Yeah, all the stuff you said, I agree. And it's just a little more motivating having a team that you're working with. Now, I've definitely heard, like, you and I have had good experiences with this stuff. I've
Yeah.
heard like terrible stories of like partnerships and stuff. So you got to know who you're working with. And I mean, like, Rob and I, we've never met. We had no contract. We just had like an agreement on what we were doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, we just trusted each other. So I mean, it's
There's
kind
a
of
lot of
crazy because it
trust.
was like
Yeah.
a lot
Like
of money.
I wire money to Europe like every month, and it's like, it's kind of a pain in the ass, I gotta say. But like, you have to like the person enough to like not, have each other stab each other in the back, kind of thing.
Right. Right.
But it does, like, I've had people offer me, like, say, let's partner up on something. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, like, and if anyone has offered me such a thing in like ever, it's nothing personal. It's just, I don't know who the hell you are usually.
Right.
But I mean, I got earlier this week, someone sent me an email and they're like, hey, I saw you're into Amazon affiliate sites. I have like a drop shipping site. I buy stuff from Amazon and then reship it. I buy stuff from Amazon all the time. Do you want me to buy through your affiliate link? And then I was like, well, that's against the terms of service to like collude to like skim money. Like, it's not okay. Right. And then they're like, oh, but I also want a cut of it. There's no free lunches. And I was like, get out. I was like, get out of here, man. I was like, I mean, I was respectful. I was like, hey, against the terms of service, I was like, I make too much money to like risk it for whatever you think you're offering me is probably not that much.
Right.
And I was like, you could probably find someone to do it, but the kind of person that you're going to find to break the rules with your like affiliate partner, Amazon, they're not going to be like an ethical person. Like,
right.
So anyway, I get pitches all the time. Partnering is awesome if you are working with someone you know and trust, and it's more fun usually if you know and trust them. So, okay. There's a bunch more chats, so we're going to blow through some stuff here. So John, thanks for joining up. Paul reminds us that inodes is the total number of files. So that's interesting. So someone asked about SiteGround hosting. I have an account with SiteGround. They are awesome. Their service is freaking ridiculous. And if you are chatting and asking for help, it's like a real admin that can like log onto your server and actually help you. A lot of other companies, you're just dealing with a customer service person that says, oh, I'm going to have to refer you to an admin who could do something, and then like nothing happens.
Right.
So SiteGround is freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'm just going through. All right. There's side conversations. And then someone asks about how do we track our SERPs? I use serplab.co.uk. It's a cheap way to do it. How about you, Dave? This is the last question.
I used to use a SERP book, I think it was called, and I would look at it just every other day or so. But like now, I just actually check. I just go and I'm like, "Where's this one? Oh, there it is." You know, and then
Gotcha.
well, because you have to use different keywords to check it for different positions. So if you really care that much, then you can sit down and spend 5 minutes trying to figure out where it is, and
right.
it helps to like actually look though, because if you can get anyone to do it from another location, because you know how Google is with like presenting information to you that like it's sort of like whatever,
right.
giving you a whitewashing your results or just sort of misleading you. But if you get someone else to do it from a different country, then that's a lot more accurate too.
Yes. Yeah, that is true. Cause like there's only so much, I mean, the SERP trackers are like simulated like search results from certain servers, and like you can see different stuff. For me, like the serplab.co.uk, I think you get some tracking for free, and I think I'm paying like $8 or $5 or $10 a month, something cheap, and you get like 600 keywords that you could track. And you know, I don't log in normally. I just get like a report sent out once a day to make sure like nothing bad happens. So
yeah.
okay, cool. We are all set. Dave, thank you for hopping on today. It was a nice surprise. Maybe if you're around next week, we could do another one of these. We could actually advertise it as such. You know.
Yeah, I just saw this one float down Facebook or something. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And I like clicked, and then I was in the thing. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, have a good Friday, Dave. People out in the chat, have a good Friday and your weekend overall. And we'll catch you next time. See ya, Jeff and Paul and Decard and whoever else made it on. See you, Dave. Take it easy, man.
Yeah, right. Bye.
Bye.